All right, welcome to part 11 of my overview of the Bible story. So, what happened in the last episode? Moses gave his final message to the Israelites in the book of Deuteronomy, and then he died. Now, Joshua is the new leader of Israel, and his job is to lead Israel into Israel. Okay, so remember, the Israelites, Israel is a group of people, a nation without a land. They're just people, kind of wandering. They've been wandering through the desert for 40 years. And now Joshua is going to lead Israel into their country that God is giving them. It's called the land of Canaan right now, but it's going to become the land of Israel. And remember, actually, Israel was the name of one man, Jacob, who God changed Jacob's name to Israel. Okay? Joshua's job is going to be to lead Israel in battle, right? Because they're going to need to fight all these wicked people that are living in the land. And Joshua's job is going to be to give each tribe a share, right? So this tribe gets that piece, this tribe that piece, and they're going to divvy up the land. Okay, so that's Joshua's job. And God says to Joshua, be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the law my servant Moses gave you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go. Keep this book of the law always on your lips. Okay, remember, what is the book of the law? That's what Moses has been writing down this whole time, right? While they're going through the wilderness, Moses has been writing down these books: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Those 5 books are called the law, or the book of the law. Okay? So God is telling Joshua, keep this book of the law always on your lips. Meditate on it day and night. I mean, just think about it. What has happened so far? All these stories, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph. Meditate on it, right? So that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and successful. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Right? So God is telling Joshua, don't be scared. I'm with you. Right? All right. Then what? So Joshua ordered the officers of the people, go through the camp and tell the people, get your provisions ready. 3 days from now, you will cross the Jordan here to go in and take possession of the land the Lord your God is giving you for your own. Wow, Joshua's not wasting any time here. He says, guys, get ready. 3 days from now, you're going to cross the river and take possession of the land. Wow. So here we are. Here we go. So what's Joshua going to do? Then Joshua, son of Nun, secretly sent 2 spies from Shittim. Go look over the land, he said, especially Jericho. So they went and entered the house of a prostitute named Rahab and stayed there. Interesting. They go to the city of Jericho, which is just on the other side of the Jordan River. They go into the house of a prostitute named Rahab. Okay. The king of Jericho was told, look, some of the Israelites have come here tonight to spy out the land. So the king of Jericho sent this message to Rahab, bring out the men who came to you and entered your house, because they have come to spy out the whole land. It's going to happen. But the woman had taken the 2 men and hidden them. She said, yes, the men came to me, but I did not know where they had come from. At dusk, when it was time to close the city gate, they left. I don't know which way they went. Go after them quickly. You may be able to catch up with them. But she had taken them up to the roof and hidden them under the stalks of flax she had laid out on the roof. All right. So she's taking the 2 spies and she hid them on her roof and she protected them. She saved them, right? Before the spies lay down for the night, she went up on the roof and said to them, I know that the Lord has given you this land, and that a great fear of you has fallen on us, so that all who live in this country are melting in fear because of you. We have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea for you when you came out of Egypt, and what you did to Sihon and Og, the 2 kings of the Amorites east of the Jordan, whom you completely destroyed. When we heard of it, our hearts melted in fear, and everyone's courage failed because of you. Man, they've heard all the stories, right? And now the people are scared. They're shaken. For the Lord your God is God in heaven above and on the earth below. Interesting. God is in heaven above and on the earth below. Remember, God's presence was living among his people where? In the tent of meeting, called the tabernacle, right? That's where the presence of God was, okay? So Rahab is saying, now then, please swear to me by the Lord that you will show kindness to my family because I have shown kindness to you. Give me a sure sign that you will spare the lives of my father and mother and brothers and sisters and all who belong to them, and that you will save us from death. She's a smart woman. Okay, she's saying, good, I've helped you. Now promise me that you're going to save me. What are the men going to say? They say, our lives for your lives, the men assured her. If you don't tell what we're doing, we will treat you kindly and faithfully when the Lord gives us the land. So she let them down by a rope through the window, for the house she lived in was part of the city wall. But they said, the men told her. Now the men had said to her, this oath you made us swear will not be binding on us unless when we enter the land you have tied this scarlet cord in the window through which you let us down. And unless you have brought your father and mother and your brothers and all your family into your house. Okay, so here's a picture I found on Google of, let's say, Jericho. I don't know what it really looked like. But Jericho, the city of Jericho, had high walls. Okay, and Rahab's house was somewhere in the wall. So she let the men down by a cord, a rope, down through the wall. Okay, and the men said to her, look, when we come and take this city, when God gives us this city, you need to put this scarlet rope, red, it's like a red rope, out of your window. You need to have it hanging out of your window, okay? And you need to bring your whole family and get them into your house. Okay, if you want to be saved, your whole family has to be in the house with this red scarlet cord hanging out of the window. Okay. So what's Joshua going to do now? So after 3 days, the officers went throughout the camp, giving orders to the people. When you see the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God and the Levitical priests carrying it, you are to move out from your positions and follow it. Then you will know which way to go, since you have never been this way before. But keep a distance of about 2,000 cubits between you and the ark. Do not go near it. Okay. So, this is the instructions for the people. That the priests are going to carry the ark of the covenant. Remember, the covenant is inside this box called the ark. Remember the 2 stone tablets that God gave to Moses, right? Those are in here. The priests are carrying it, and they're going to follow this. They're going to follow this. The people are over here. They need to follow at a distance of 2,000 cubits. Okay, what is a cubit? It's a unit of measurement that they used back in those days. It's from your elbow to your fingers. Okay, that's a cubit. It's about 18 inches or about half a meter. Okay, about a cubit. Okay, so they're supposed to follow the ark by about 2,000 cubits. Okay, then the Lord said to Joshua, today I will begin to exalt you in the eyes of all Israel, so they may know that I am with you as I was with Moses. Tell the priests who carry the ark of the covenant, when you reach the edge of the Jordan's waters, go and stand in the river. Okay, so the priests who are carrying the ark right on their shoulders, they're supposed to stand in the river, the Jordan River, okay? And that's their instructions, to stand in the river. What's God going to do? Because this river is a big river, okay? It's at harvest season, so the river is very wide. What do you think is God going to do? How are all the people going to cross the river? Remember what happened when all the Israelites were at the Red Sea? What did God do? God made a way through the sea on dry ground. So it's probably he's going to do the same now, right? Have all his people cross over on dry land. Now remember, what God is telling Joshua here, today I'm going to begin to exalt you in the sight of all of Israel. Just remember this picture, because from now, 1,400 years in the future, God is again going to exalt another Joshua right here at the river, the Jordan River, right where they're going to cross right now. So remember, this moment is going to become more significant 1,400 years in the future when another man, Joshua or Yeshua, remember Joshua and Yeshua and Jesus are the same name. So we've got a glimpse of what's going to happen in the future when God begins to exalt Joshua right here. Just keep that in mind, all right? So, see, the ark of the covenant of the Lord of all the earth will go into the Jordan ahead of you. Okay? Now then, choose 12 men from among the tribes of Israel, one from each tribe. And as soon as the priests who carry the ark of the Lord of all the earth, remember, this is the Lord, God of Israel, is the God of the whole earth. Don't forget that. God hasn't forgotten about the Chinese people. He hasn't forgotten about the people living over in Peru or Mozambique, right? There's one God of all the earth who's chosen the people of Israel. He's going to give them a land so that they can be a blessing to the whole earth. Now let's see if that happens or not. What do you think? So the ark, okay, they're going to go into the river. Okay, he says take one man from each tribe, okay, and to set foot in the Jordan River. In the Jordan River. Let me just read that again. Choose 12 men from the tribes of Israel, one from each tribe, and as the Lord. Sorry, my screen just went dark. Okay, as the Lord, and as the priests, soon as the priests who carry the ark of the Lord of all the earth, set foot in the Jordan. Okay, as soon as those priests go into the Jordan, its waters flowing downstream will be cut off and stand up in a heap. Okay. So, what's God going to do? As soon as the priest's feet stand in the water, he's going to stop the river from flowing somewhere over there. Okay, so that the river is going to be dry. The land is going to be dry for them to cross. Okay, so what's going to happen? So when the people broke camp to cross the Jordan, the priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant went ahead of them. Now, the Jordan is at flood stage during harvest. Okay, so the river is wide. It's full of water. It's at its fullest stage throughout the year. Okay, yet as soon as the priests who carried the ark reached the Jordan and their feet touched the water's edge, the water from upstream stopped flowing. It piled up in a heap a great distance away at a town called Adam in the vicinity of Zarethan, while the water flowing down to the Sea of the Arabah, that is the Dead Sea, was completely cut off. Okay, so somewhere upstream at a place called Adam, okay, God stopped the water, and now the whole river is going to become dry, right? The whole riverbed is dry, and now what's going to happen? Okay, so the people crossed over opposite Jericho. The priests who carried the Ark of the Covenant, the priests who carried the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord stopped in the middle of the Jordan and stood on dry ground while all Israel passed by until the whole nation had completed crossing on dry ground. Wow. Okay, so the priests who are carrying the ark, they go into the middle of the river. It's dry river now. They stop. All the people, probably a lot. I don't know how many people. I don't know what the population is at this point. Probably millions, maybe. I don't know. They all go and they cross over. Okay, so now they're all in the land. Guys, they're in the land. Let's just stop for a second and just recognize the magnitude of this moment. Imagine being a kid. You came out of Egypt. Okay, just let's think about this for a second, okay? Egypt is over here. Imagine if you're 15 years old. Right? You came out of Egypt. You went to Mount Sinai here, and some crazy things happened here. And then you went through the desert. You went up to a place called Kadesh Barnea, remember? And God told people could go and take the land. They sent out 12 spies. Let's say your parents. Well, maybe your dad was one of the spies, right? And came back with a bad report. Well, there's giants in the land. We can't go take the land. There's giants there. Wow. Let's say you're 15 years old. So you wander 40 years until the entire generation, your parents' generation, are dead. And now you're over here. And now you cross the river. Now you're in the land. Now you're 55 years old. Just imagine that. 15 years old. And then 55 years old when you finally enter the land. Guys, that's a long time. That's older than me. That's 40 years. I'm not even 40 years old. That's a long, long time. So this is just stop and recognize the magnitude of this moment. That after such a long time from Egypt, they're finally in the land. Wow. Okay, while the Israelites were camped at Gilgal on the plains of Jericho, they celebrated Passover on the evening of the 14th day of the first month. Remember Passover? It's a celebration when God passed over all the people of Israel who had the blood of the lamb on their doorposts. Remember? But God killed all the firstborn of Egypt, including Pharaoh's own son. Okay? So they celebrated Passover on the evening of the 14th day of the first month. The very next day they began to eat unleavened bread and roasted grain harvested from the land. No manna appeared on the day they first ate from the crops of the land, and it was never seen again. So from that time on, the Israelites ate from the crops of Canaan. Okay, no more manna. Remember, they hated manna? They were always complaining, we hate this manna, Moses. All right, the manna was the bread that appeared on the ground every morning. That's what they ate in the wilderness. And now they're done. No more manna. They're eating the crops of the land. So it's pretty significant, right? When Joshua was near the town of Jericho, he looked up and saw a man standing in front of him with sword in hand. Joshua went up to him and demanded, "Are you friend or foe?" "Neither one," he replied. "I am the commander of the Lord's army." At this, Joshua fell with his face to the ground in reverence. "I am at your command," Joshua said. What do you want your servant to do?" The commander of the Lord's army replied, "Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy." And Joshua did as he was told. Wow. Remember a few decades before, when Moses was at Mount Sinai, he led his flock to Mount Sinai and he saw God in the burning bush and God spoke to him. Remember, what did God tell him? "Take off your sandals, for the place you're standing is holy ground." So now this happens to Joshua as well. Joshua sees this man near Jericho, right? And Joshua goes up to him and says, "Who are you? Are you friend or foe?" And he says, "I am the commander of the Lord's army." Whoa, who is this? Who is this guy? He's kind of a mysterious figure. Just like, remember Melchizedek, the king and the priest of Salem? He was kind of mysterious. Well, here we have another mysterious guy. And what do Joshua bows down to the ground in reverence. He says, I am at your command. What do you want me to do? And the commander says, take off your sandals because this is your holy ground, right? So we kind of get the feeling that this man is God himself, right? Some sort of an appearance, just like Melchizedek. Kind of almost get this feeling this man is almost God. He's the commander of the Lord's army. Well, who is that? Who is the commander of the Lord's army? So we're kind of left with some questions here, right? So, wow. Okay, now the gates of Jericho were securely barred because of the Israelites. Okay, like everybody's just in the city, in Jericho, right? Nobody's going in or coming out. No one out, and no one went out, and no one came in. Then the Lord said to Joshua, see, I have delivered Jericho into your hands, along with its king and its fighting men. March around the city once with all the armed men. Do this for 6 days. Have 7 priests carry trumpets of ram's horns in front of the ark. On the 7th day, march around the city 7 times, with the priests blowing the trumpets. When you hear them sound a long blast on the trumpets, have the whole army give a loud shout. Then the wall of the city will collapse, and the army will go up, everyone straight in. Okay, did you understand this? God is telling Joshua, okay, for 6 days, march around the city once with all your men, okay, your fighting men, and then on the 7th day, march around the city 7 times, and then the priests, right, or who are carrying the ark, right, the priests who have horns, ram's horns, like trumpets, right, they're going to give a loud blast on their trumpets, have the whole army give a loud shout. Everybody's going to shout, and the walls of Jericho are going to come crashing down, and all the fighting men are going to go in. Okay, so that's what happened. On the 7th day, they got up at daybreak and marched around the city 7 times in the same manner. Except on that day, they circled the city 7 times, right? On the other 6 days, they just did it once per day. Now they're going to do it 7 times. Okay, the 7th time around, when the priests sounded the trumpet blast, Joshua commanded the army, shout, for the Lord has given you the city. The city and all that is in it are to be devoted to the Lord. Only Rahab the prostitute and all who are with her in her house shall be spared, because she hid the spies we sent. All right, so now the walls are going to fall, right? And Joshua is telling the people, only save Rahab the prostitute and everybody in her house. How did they know? Because the scarlet cord, remember, hanging out the window. All right, so this is what it's going to do. So Joshua said to the 2 men who had spied out the land, go into the prostitute's house and bring her out and all who belong to her, in accordance with your oath to her. So the young men who had done the spying went in and brought out Rahab, her father and mother, her brothers and sisters, and all who belonged to her. They brought out her entire family and put them in a place outside the camp of Israel. Wow, so Rahab saves her whole family. She was smart, right? Now, was she a good person? Well, she was a prostitute. What about her family? Her father, mother, brothers, and sisters, were they good people? We have no idea. Why were they saved? Were they saved because they were good people? No, they were saved because the red cord, right, it was hanging out of the window, and all of them were in that house. They were following the instructions well, and she had saved the 2 spies, right? So she saved the Lord's people, and she made them promise, and they kept their promise. That's how they got saved. We don't know if they're good people or not, but they got saved, right? So People of Israel, the walls fall, they go in, and this family is saved. The family of Rahab the prostitute is saved by this cord. What an interesting story. So that's the end of this. This is the most famous story in the book of Joshua. Okay, so Joshua is the 6th book of the Bible. After Deuteronomy comes Joshua. So this city, this is the most famous battle. But then afterward, what happens? They take the rest of the land, okay? At that time, Joshua went and destroyed the Anakites from the hill country, from Hebron, Debir, and Anab, from all the hill country of Judah, and from all the hill country of Israel. Joshua totally destroyed them and their towns. No Anakites were left in Israelite territory. Only in Gaza, Gath, and Ashdod did any survive. Interesting. Okay, so some Anakites did survive, and they were living in Gaza, Gath, and Ashdod. So Joshua took the entire land just as the Lord had directed Moses, and he gave it as an inheritance to Israel according to their tribal divisions. Then the land had rest from war. Okay, so Joshua, he finished his work. They took the land, right? He led the people in battle. They took all the land, except for this area. Okay, some Anakites still lived there. And Joshua divvied up the land to all the different tribes. Okay, so all the tribes got their tribes. But now what does God say? So when Joshua had grown old, so Joshua is an old man now, the Lord said to him, "You are now very old, and there are still very large areas of land to be taken over." Okay, so the whole land was conquered. Okay, the people of Israel were living there. They all had their tribes. But there were still large pieces of land that the people needed to go and actually take possession of. Okay, like some hills over there, and the people were living here. They hadn't gone and taken possession of that yet. Okay, so in a way, everything's at peace now. There's no more war, but the land hasn't been actually occupied by these people, right? So now the people of Judah approached Joshua at Gilgal, and Caleb, son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite, said to him, remember who Caleb is? Caleb was one of the good spies, and Joshua was the other good spy. Two good spies who, they're balloons. That's a good time to party. There were two good spies, right, who came back and gave a good report to the people. They said, guys, this is a good land. Let's take it. Yeah, there are giants there, but we can take it. God has given us this land. Let's go. So, Caleb is a good guy. So Caleb said, you know what the Lord said to Moses, the man of God at Kadesh Barnea, about you and me? I was 40 years old when Moses, the servant of the Lord, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to explore the land, and I brought him back a report according to my convictions. But my fellow Israelites who went up with me made the hearts of the people melt in fear. I, however, followed the Lord my God wholeheartedly. So on that day Moses swore to me, the land which your feet have walked will be your inheritance, and that of your children forever, because you have followed the Lord my God wholeheartedly. Okay, so Moses had told Caleb, ultimately, when you guys enter the land, you're going to get possession of where you walk, the place where you were. Okay, it's going to become his Caleb. It's going to become his place. It's, which tribe was he from? From the tribe of Judah. Okay, so the people of Judah are now going to live in that place, right? Where is it? Excuse me. Okay, now then, just as the Lord promised, he has kept me alive for 45 years. So Caleb is still talking to Joshua. He has kept me alive for 45 years since the time he said this to Moses, while Israel moved about in the wilderness. So here I am today, 85 years old. Wow, so this is 45 years after the first time Caleb was in the land. Now 45 years later, all right? And I'm still as strong today as the day Moses sent me out. I'm just as vigorous to go out in battle now as I was then. Now give me this hill country that the Lord promised me that day. Okay, so they're in this area. Caleb says that is, give me this land, right? Because God promised it to me. Then Joshua blessed Caleb, son of Jephunneh, and gave him Hebron as his inheritance. So Hebron has belonged to Caleb, son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzites, ever since, because he followed the Lord, the God of Israel, wholeheartedly. All right, so Caleb has inherited this city called Hebron, and that's actually where Abraham lived. That's where Abraham lived and died. It's still a city today. You know, like I said at the beginning, it's one of the places covered in this book called Where God Came Down. Great archaeology book. So Caleb inherited that city and that whole area around there, and that became the tribe of Judah, that territory of Judah. Right? 400 years after Abraham, right? More than 400 years, 400 and some years now, maybe almost 500 years. I don't know. Somewhere around there, between 400 and 500 years after Abraham, now the tribe of Judah has inherited that land. Okay, so wow, that land is about right here. So we've got the tribe of Judah here. All the tribes got a bit of a different portion, right? And I should mention, remember the bones of Joseph? Remember Joseph said, when God rescues you and comes and takes you out and gives you the land promised to Abraham, take my bones with you. So they took his bones. Moses, remember, carrying Joshua's bones, not Joshua's bones, Joseph's bones. Moses was carrying Joseph's bones, and now the Israelites they bury Joseph's bones at a place about right here. Okay, so they put Joseph's bones in the ground. So Joseph died in Egypt, but his bones returned to the place where he had lived before. Remember his brothers had done something really bad. His brothers threw him down a well. And they take him up. They sold him into slavery in Egypt. So now his bones are buried up here. Okay, now something interesting. It says Judah could not dislodge the Jebusites who were living in Jerusalem. Okay, so there's a city of Jerusalem in the land of Judah now, in the tribe of Judah. Okay, this just says this really interesting sentence. Judah could not dislodge the Jebusites who were living in Jerusalem. Now, remember Jerusalem? That's the place where Melchizedek, this weird, mysterious figure. Anyway, later in the Bible, we'll see more significance about Melchizedek. So just keep that character in mind. And also, remember Abraham, when Abraham went to sacrifice his son Isaac, and God said, don't touch the boy. Remember, that was also here, Jerusalem. So we know this is significant. But the tribe of Judah was not able to take this city. Now, remember the promise that Israel had made about his son Judah? Remember? Israel, the man, Jacob, before he died, he said this about his son Judah. Okay? The scepter will not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until he to whom it belongs shall come, and the obedience of the nations shall be his. Okay, so we see a special son is going to come from the tribe of Judah. Now, is that son Caleb? Is Caleb the special son? Well, we know he's not. He can't be the special son because Judah is not a king. Caleb is not a king. Caleb doesn't have a scepter. He's not a king, and he was not able to take Jerusalem. Okay, so we know he's not going to be the special son. Moses wasn't the special son. I mean, he was a special son. All of these guys are kind of special in some way, but Moses wasn't the special son because Moses was from the tribe of Levi, and this is from the tribe of Judah. Okay, so the king is going to come from the tribe of Judah. We know it wasn't Moses. It's not going to be Joshua. Joshua also wasn't from the tribe of Judah. And Caleb is from the tribe of Judah, but he's not a king, and he wasn't able to take Jerusalem. Okay, so What's Joshua going to say in his final message? Now, Joshua's an old man. He did a very good job. He led the people faithfully, just as Moses had commanded him, just as God had commanded him. Be strong and courageous. Joshua did great. What's he going to say in his final message before he dies? Well, he's going to remind them of the story. Just like Moses had done. Before he died, he reminded his people of the story. Okay? And what am I doing now? I'm reminding you of the story. Hopefully I don't die. But if I do, well, that's about the last thing I want to do in my life, guys. I want to remind you of the story. So I'm a little bit like Joshua too, right? So you can read what he says in Joshua chapter 24. He tells the people, look, long ago, the whole world was worshiping idols. God took one man, Abraham, and made a promise to him, right? And then to give this land. But then his descendants went down to Egypt. They were slaves in Egypt. God brought them out from Egypt. And then we did this and this and this and this and this. Now we're here. Now, guys, please be faithful to God. Okay, that's what he's saying in his final message. And Joshua says, if you violate the covenant of the Lord your God, which he has commanded you, and go serve other gods and bow down to them, the Lord's anger will burn against you, and you will quickly perish from the good land he has given you. Oh, man. You will quickly perish from the good land. If you bow down to other gods and make idols and follow the gods of all the other nations and stuff like that, Joshua is saying, if you do that, you will perish from the land. You're dead. Basically, you're dead. God's going to kick you out of the land. So, what do you think? Now, what are the people going to say? The people say, then the people answered, far be it from us to forsake the Lord and serve other gods. It was the Lord our God himself who brought us and our parents up out of Egypt from that land of slavery and performed those great signs before our eyes. He protected us on our entire journey and among all the nations through which we traveled. And they're saying, of course we're going to be faithful to God. We're not going to forsake the Lord because it was God who brought us up out of Egypt and did all these things for us. Of course we're going to be faithful to God. What do you think is going to happen? Now that the Israelites are in their own land, will they stay faithful to God? What's your prediction? Will they? How long? Will they stay faithful to God for a week? A month? A year? 10 years? Forever? What's your prediction? So guys, that's the end of the book of Joshua. So Joshua reminded them of the story. Okay? He told them, you cannot have any idols. Only worship your God, Israel. Okay? And you cannot intermarry with the other people. Okay? You can't take idols. You can't marry other people in the land. Why? Because if you marry them, they will tempt you to worship their gods and take you away from the Lord your God, right? Remember, that's what happened. Remember the Moabite women? The Moabite women who seduced the Israelite men? Said, come over here, come back here, have sex with us and worship our gods. So a lot of the Israelite men, they worshipped Baal of Peor. And that's what happened, right? So Joshua was saying, guys, you can't marry foreign women. That's it. Okay, you have to only marry people from Israel. Okay, you can't mix God with idols. There's no mixing there. You have to be faithful to God. So Joshua died at 110 years old. That's it, guys. We're done the book of Joshua. Thank you very much for joining me today. As always, I love you so much, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in part 12. What do you think is going to happen after this? Now they're in the land. What's your prediction? So guys, hope you're doing great. Hope you're staying safe, healthy, and happy. And I'll see you over in part 12 of Mark's Bible overview. Take care.